Hello everyone, it's me again, GW Fan the Softcore Bunny, welcoming you to the big ol' explanation of the Veldt / Prancing Plains on Let's Play Philly Fantasy 6. As always, feel free to skip this one if you hate these long explanations, especially since this is more or less identical to my other explanation version 1.0. A couple minor differences, but if need be, you can find the important stuff in the video description, including which abilities I've chosen to take at this point, because, well, this is going to be the entire video, so there you go. Anyway, in order to talk about the, well, Prancing Plains in this version, we first need to talk about Scootaloo, because without her, there would be no Prancing Plains, and vice versa. For starters, the basics, which is her stats. As you see here, let's see, Scoot has gained slightly higher power and speed in exchange for slightly lower defenses and evasion. Could be a little more dangerous for Scoot, but in general, she's still one of the most powerful in the game if you're willing to work for it. However, before we get to that, her Emulate ability is the new Rage command, or Random for you Pony Fantasy 6 folks, and Idolize is the new Leap or Bounce. Truth be told, Scoot is something of a hybrid between Gao from the original game and Pinky from Pony Fantasy, but more on that in a moment. Otherwise, one of the things she shares with Pinky is the ability to equip weapons, at all. Let's see, in her case, the Pegasus-specific weapons in spears, as well as, well, specific, well, light armor, I guess, light character weapons like daggers and knives, so there's that as well. It's more or less her two big abilities there. Plus, she's also a light armor character herself, so she can't equip anything stronger than the thick splint for a long, long time. But anyway, I don't especially care about the daggers at all, because with the spears, she can attack from the back row without any damage reduction. And plus, of course, it also means that she can equip the, where is it? Light Shoe. And let's see, for this, I also want to give her the Gale Band, because now I can just equip 2 Iron Spears there, along with these 2 items, and there we go. She also can equip the Sturdy Shoe, although I don't care at all about that for her. So anyway, time to go over these Idolize abilities of Scoot's, which she does start with a few as default abilities there, as you can see. So, let's see. Getting into a battle real quick here. Brawlers? Okay. Oh, you know what? One thing I need to do real quick. Hang on a sec. I almost forgot I wanted to change my battle to wait, so that these guys aren't sitting here attacking me while I'm, sitting here, well, doing stuff. But anyway, let's see. Yeah, she has these couple of abilities. Some of them can be at least somewhat useful as far as, elemental and status resistances go, though more on that in a sec. Basically how this works is she just select one of these, like the Were-Rat here, and Scoot will, well, either use the Fight command or a special ability. In this case, she uses the Fight command, which you can do twice because 2 weapons. Awesome. Now, we didn't get to see the special ability there, which in this case I believe is the Poison Spell. Let's see if I can get that to work again. Yeah, Poison Spell, which I don't believe the Were-Rat is capable of using. Holy cow, I forgot that guy was weak against that's a slow magic defense. But anywho, so as you saw back there, like I said earlier, she has something of a hybrid between Gao and Pinky, because she has a 50-50 chance of using 2 skills per any of these abilities that she has. Were-Rat, of course, being like Fight and Poison, or Rhinotaur being, I think, Fight and, what is it, like, Volt something or other, but I forget exactly what all the abilities are called. But, yeah, usually it's the Fight command and some other special ability, but it can also be like the Fight command and some physical skill, and sometimes also like a magic attack and a physical skill, or in a couple cases, or relatively rare cases even, 2 magic abilities, which is quite interesting. So, Now, many of the abilities have changed quite a bit from, well, the original Final Fantasy. They're still basically the same as version 1.0 if you're used to that, so not too much there, but other than the fact that many enemies now have different affiliations with elements, although none of these starter ones do, if I'm not mistaken there. Moving on to the benefits of the various abilities, which old FF6 buffs will know quite well. You know, whatever you choose, Scoot will inherit that particular monster's elemental properties. For example, the Were-Rat here, you'll gain a weakness to fire, but you'll also, I believe it's nullify poison rather than absorb it in this version. And also, for example, become immune to blind, which could be useful here and there. Now, unlike the original game, of course, where you can't, you know, choose different abilities, you can in this case. So I can actually kind of mix and match skills. Thanks, AJ. Don't kill them, guys. Thank you. So for example, I could also use the Rhinotaur, which has, I think it absorbs lightning, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, Megavolt, that's what it was called. And now I'll have the properties of both. Being immune to poison and... Bye, guy. Yeah, poison and also immune to lightning now. Awesome. One of the nice things about this setup is that immunities and absorption have priority over weaknesses. So if, for example, I use the Christ armor, which has a weakness to lightning, and then use Rhinotaur. Rhinotaur, of course, you know, is immune to that, so Rhinotaur will supersede the crystal armor. Or, if, for example, if I use the Rhinotaur first, even if I use the crystal armor second, the immunity to lightning will still supersede the weakness here. Which also applies to any equipment that Scootula might have. We don't have much besides status protection at the moment, but there are armors and relics that we'll be able to get eventually that will grant elemental protections from, well, various elements, obviously. And those will apply to supersede any weaknesses that these abilities have as well. You know, Were-Rat's weak to fire. I could equip something that absorbs it or nullifies it, and I wouldn't have to worry about using Were-Rat in that case. Not that I would normally use this, but... In addition, we also can inherit innate buffs from various abilities, such as the Crystal Armor. We'll turn Scootaloo yellow there. It has an inherent safe ability, which cannot be nullified in any way. Other things to note, I don't have any here because she doesn't have any by default, but all Griffin-based enemies have auto haste, which cannot be taken away by slow, for example. Although you can still be stopped, but at least you're immune to things like slow, which is nice. You also will have to be careful of negative abilities, like Whisper, for example, has, I believe, I think it's actually auto poison in this version so much. Oh, well, I'm not going to be able to tell now. Oh, you know what? I think the Christ Armor was immune to poison anyway. But yeah, normally it has like auto seizure, but I think it has like auto poison in this version. Plus, it's an undead monster, and the undead status is not necessarily a great thing. Particularly in this version where death spells still seem to kill undead monsters in most cases. So yeah, there is that. It might be less useful than it was before. So I tend to stay away from undead abilities, although there's not a whole lot of good undead monsters out there anyway. Anyway, before I get into more of how to learn abilities with Scoot, how's about we go over the Prancing Plains itself. As you saw back there, well, multiple times, I got into a battle with two brawlers, which we haven't seen since the, what was it called, the Unicorn range? In truth, you can fight nearly every random encounter in the game here on the Prancing Plains, so long as you have encountered it before. How this works exactly, well, fights in the Prancing Plains are divided into what are referred to as packs, and each pack contains 8 possible predetermined monster formations. What I mean by monster formations is like what we saw before, the two brawlers in the battle. So long as you have seen a battle formation and did not get a game over, you could even run away from it, you can see that same formation here on the Prancing Plains. Now, there are a total of 64 packs on the Prancing Plains, although 9 of them are empty for some reason and don't serve any purpose, and also not all packs are filled with 8 possible formations either. There's even a few that only have 1 possible formation in the pack. Packs are numbered from 1 to 64 and will always go in order so long as there is at least 1 monster formation to fill that pack. If you have not met any monster formation in a particular pack, then the Prancing Plains will just skip on to the next available pack that has a monster formation in it. Quite simple. So how does this information help you? If you know the packs, of which I'm posting where to find, well, a couple different places you could find them in the video description there. If you know the packs, then you can determine what you'll be fighting next. For example, those 2 brawlers back there are in Pack 5. And as we're seeing on screen here, next is Pack 6, which actually has 3 empty spots, interestingly. Keep in mind, of course, some of the names of the monsters on the list I'm showing you are not going to be the same as in Philly Fantasy, because, well, I'm showing you a list from the original vanilla version, so some names have changed. So in any case, as long as I've met any of the monsters in that particular pack, any of them could appear. So, what I'll fight next now is eventually, Were-Rat and Rogue, or what is it, whatever the other one was called, but in the original I forget, but anyway, with that little demonstration and explanation out of the way, I might as well get on to learn how to learn new abilities with Scootaloo. As Spike explained in the last video, Scoot can only learn new abilities here on the Prancing Plains. She will not have access to Idolize at all outside of the Prancing Plains. I'm surprised he didn't counterattack that. Anyway, if we select Idolize, the battle Scoot will jump on the enemies and the battle ends, and whenever she comes back, she'll learn the abilities of all the monsters in that battle formation, even if we killed some or if they have not appeared in battle yet. What I mean by that is, for example, remember the Tailstar enemy, way back at that monster in the box, where we got the reinforced bit and all that? You may remember that it called in some soldiers to back it up. If Scoot just idolizes that formation, like even before the Tailstar calls in the soldiers, she'll still learn the abilities from the soldiers. So anyway, now that Scoot is out of the party, she has taken all of her equipment with her, but we'll get it back once she's re-recruited, and we won't have to actually use a muffin either. And she has a 5 in 8 chance of showing up in a battle that we win. Okay, you guys, actually that would be a pretty good one to, for her to learn right there. But anyway, keep in mind she will not appear in back attacks, pincer attacks, or side attacks. It has to be a regular battle. And there's also a total of 48 battle formations in the game that Scoot just flat out can't come back in. Oh, there she is. If monsters are filling the, I think it's the 6th slot in a given battle, which is where Scoot is standing right there, then she will not be able to come back because, well, that's the spot she occupies. Alright, just wait a couple seconds or fight her before she starts talking to make her go away, because you can do that too. And Scoot, well, will be fully healed and automatically put in the front row. And she has now learned the abilities of the monsters from the pack that she left on there, which, well, would have included the Were-Rat, except we already had that, as well as the enemies that she came back with, which in this case is the stray cat. Let's see, what's that other one? Yeah, the rogue there, so she's learned those. So we have some new abilities, but the question is, are they worth it? And how many abilities can Scootaloo learn? Technically, 255 different abilities. Although 3 of those monsters, well, normally at least, cannot appear on the Prancing Plains. I think at least one of them was put back on the plains for Philly Fantasy, though I've never actually seen it, so I'm not sure. But whether or not it has, it's a minimum of 252 abilities, although the vast majority of them are crud, so not really something you want. And even though I tend to be a bit of a perfectionist, I mean, within reason, I don't plan on getting every last ability. In fact, it's not, well, besides being a ridiculous task, it's also a good idea to take as few abilities as possible so that you're not sifting through some enormous list just to find the couple of good abilities that you want. Whenever Scoot's not with you, you may want to run from most battles, although keep in mind you can't always run from every battle. For example, you know, if you're in a battle that the story dictated you can't run away from, which there are random encounter monsters of that sort, you won't be able to run away from it here either. So, which of the 252 abilities or so are worth acquiring? I haven't looked into every last one of them, probably about half of them, frankly. Yeah, I went that crazy, although that was a while back. That was in the 1.0 version. But I picked out some abilities, fewer than version 1.0, believe it or not, that I believe are useful at the earliest possible time that you can acquire them. So, obviously, if you know of any other ones that you think are great or better, then, you know, feel free to tell me about it. Now, what I have chosen for this particular trip to the Prancing Plains is listed on screen right now, and you'll be able to see that in the video description as well. Though, note that if you only meet that you can only meet the Primordite if you have already completed Flash's quest, and otherwise the Areneid is the creature you'd want to seek out in around Counterlot there. Longtime Final Fantasy VI buffs might wonder, well, you know, what about, you know, Marshall or Serpius or, you know, the Dark Wind and what have you. But those ones are different now. Stray Cat, I have listed purely as optional because it still teaches you Cat Scratch, which is technically good right now, but it has been nerfed to be 2.5 times. It is not the same as the Sentry Dog, like I said before. I thought that one was also the same, but it was actually 2 times normal damage rather than 2.5 of the Cat Scratch. But anyway, Cat Scratch in the original was like 4 times normal damage, but that's okay because there are other abilities later on in the game that are much, much stronger than even 4 times. As for the other abilities listed, Marshall has been renamed to Guard Captain in this mod, and it doesn't have Wind Slash, it just has an ability called Net, which does a small amount of damage and also casts Slow, so technically you could take that instead of the Areneid / Primordite, although if Scootaloo is silenced, you won't be able to use that ability, which is why I don't like it as much. Plus, it's kind of a rare monster to meet out here. As it is, so you might have to go through a lot of patience if you really want it. I have found an alternate to Wind Slash, though, although we won't acquire that till later. To continue, Commander does some not worth it at all physical skill now. Serpius, sort of useful. It doesn't use Haste 2, unfortunately, but it can use Beak, which is a single target petrify ability, though I don't find that to be particularly useful because there's a, well, instant death ability that that I've listed as well, although I'll talk about that in a little bit. Oh, also, while you're out there searching for abilities, you also might want to fight the Telstar at least once more, though preferably at least twice more to get more reinforced bits. If you get more than that, that's also great because you can sell them for 1,500 bits a piece, so... Now, I know there are many out there who despise Veldt or Prancing Plains hunting. I know very well because I always do it, but I never look forward to it. It can take a long time. In fact, on this trip, well, you'll typically spend between like 20 to 30 minutes or longer looking for abilities, particularly the ones I just, listed there. And there are some tricks to make it a little bit less well, painful for manipulating the Prancing Plains, which I'll talk about in a moment. Now, fortunately, I did prepare ahead of time and picked up all the abilities that I wanted. Although, this time it did take me quite a bit longer than normal, to the point that I actually got all the money that I wanted first and had to start running away from monsters, which, as you can see, is, well, 50,000 bits minus a relic that I haven't sold yet for a particular reason. I'll explain why I want that much money in the next video, as well as why I haven't sold the relic yet. But anyway, how about we go over some of these abilities, shall we? Oh, hey there, guys. Let's see, first we got the Rhodox, which I particularly like, because its main ability is Pitfall, which is an instant death ability on only ground-based enemies. Not 100% accurate. I really should turn off the wait time, too. Oh, except they're gonna get themselves killed. The other ability that Rhodox has, Tail Whack, which I think does 1.5 times normal damage, so pretty good there. As an alternate ability. It's very useful against quite a number of otherwise high HP monsters throughout the game. I guess I don't really have to necessarily demonstrate all these, although that one in particular is one of my favorites for quite a while. So, anywho, let's see. Yeah, Stray Cat I've already talked about a bit. I decided to take this because it is pretty useful for the time being. Now, I took Bomb, which was the one that I just couldn't seem to find for the life of me. Just because I do like the higher base power, although the Pterodon, which I did not acquire on purpose, also would be quite useful. It's a automatic multi-target move with Fireball. Well, I should talk about this one too, but yeah, Pterodon is an multi-target ability, automatic multi-target ability of Fireball, which is weaker than the Bomb's ability Blaze, but Blaze 50-50 chance of doing single target or multi-target. But the other good thing about Pterodon also is that in addition to being immune to fire, it's also immune to wind, which would be useful in the very near future, though not a whole lot of monsters have wind beyond a relatively soon dungeon, which is why I was fine with the slightly stronger Bomb there. And then I ended up getting Areneid. I mean, I don't necessarily need that, because really I only use it once and then pretty much never again. But I'm gonna go ahead and take it anyway, just in case. And let's see, that was it, right? Now, unfortunately, with the Cat Scratch nerf, and I know for a fact you can't get any ability with Wind Slash at this point in the game, there isn't any, especially useful end-all ability that you can get on this particular trip. I mean, Rhodox comes pretty close in my opinion, but there's plenty else that that's much better later on. And of course, if you don't want to use Scootaloo at all, or you just want to go for the best abilities possible, just for the minimum effort there, then maybe get, like, Rhodox or Stray Cat or something and just leave it at that. You could even go without anything whatsoever this particular trip. There's at least 2 particularly great abilities that we'll be able to get much later on, once it's also a little bit easier to get back here. But with all that said, let's see, how do we make plains hunting a little less annoying? I can show you one of 2 tricks now, because the second one isn't plausible at the moment, because it involves leaving the Veldt, or, well, the Prancing Plains, and I had to progress with the plot to do that, so that's, not gonna happen right now. Anyway, since we are using an emulator, we'll go ahead and save state real quick. So, let's see, what am I going to fight next? Let's see, the ghost in the purple cloud. Oh. Wrong button back there. But, let's see, so now we know that we have the ghost in the purple cloud. So, one thing you can do is save, and then manually reset the game. Then we can just kind of get through that and go, and this should be different now. Different pack altogether. If we ever get into a battle. Ah, Grasshopper and Stray Cat. Yeah, we've actually moved quite a bit there. I don't need to fight you guys right now. Now, whenever you reset like that, the game... the game adds 13 to whatever number pack you're on. So, well, technically we should have just jumped 13 packs. Though, every once in a while, that doesn't seem to quite work that way, and it'll jump, like, 1 pack, or, like, some weirdly high number of packs, or even no packs. I'm not really sure what determines that, but there's some oddities that occur every once in a while. Anyway, that pretty much wraps up the Prancing Plains. In truth, whether you decide to power up Scoot or not is purely up to you, like I said. But keep in mind, she is going to continue to be one of the most powerful party members from here on out, so long as you keep on acquiring good abilities for her. So, of course, it does take some work, but it's worth it. And, well, on the way, I will be telling you which abilities you may want to pick up, and also which ones I will be picking up, of course. And, well, that's everything you never wanted to know about the Prancing Plains. Again! Did you get all the way through? Good. Congratulate yourself. Go eat a muffin or something. I'm not paying for it, though. This is the only huge explanation I'll be making there, so... yeah, nothing else like this. I know it took me a little longer to actually get to this, but that was real-world working related. So, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled program next time on Let's Play Philly Fantasy VI version 2.0. Ha-ha! I got in your way this time without even meaning to! How did I even dare, chi?